What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 4 Dummies, and tonight I am joined with the other 3 dummies. I have Mrs. Skullface.
Hello.
Robert D.
Hi.
And Just One.
Yo, what's happening?
And as promised, we're going to take a quick break from the collection critiques. We will come back to them. I know people missed them, but we just needed a break, something different to talk about. Tonight, we are going to talk about confirmation bias. Honestly, what spurred this conversation is the recent Starscream release from Takara.
Can I cut you off really quick?
Please.
Can you please define confirmation bias?
The tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation of one's existing beliefs or theories. You already have your thoughts and feelings regarding something. And then, in spite of any new evidence, or in regard to any new evidence that suits your beliefs, in spite of any that doesn't, you will use that to only shore up your beliefs and conclude that the other person is just wrong somehow.
So you mean, like, for example, was confirmation bias kind of like when you first hold a figure and decide it's trash before you actually explore it?
So you're talking about my first impressions. Can I tell you, honestly, what my big concern was with the first impressions? That I was going to have to buy 3 more Seekers. Because I was like...
Was there confirmation bias there? Were you going in there saying, I don't want to like this thing?
I'd already prepared myself that this is what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to buy 3 more Seekers.
So did you feel a sense of relief?
Yes.
Very interesting.
And I'll tell
you
you...
mean like as if it were good. If it were good, you would have been in for a whole new lineup?
Correct. And I'll tell you, even with the build issues that it has, objectively has, if I liked the way it looked, I would go in on it, even though it's built like Lincoln Log set. The subjectivity part, I mean, I mentioned it on the review, but I kept a lot of how I really felt about it to myself.
On the one hand, people see you as having confirmation bias in a way, right? Say towards Starscream or towards other figures you reviewed that you can tell it's palpable. Out of the gates, he hates it. And like I've had figures I've sent to you where my butt was like, oh, like a little butt hurt going on. I'm like, oh, when I'm like, you didn't see that, but you missed the arm guns, but you didn't see the flippity flap. And then I'll call him like, Bobby, what about that? And then he'll hammer home why he hated it and why it was bad. And I'm like, okay, I got you. But you can still see the process going on. That's one side of the coin. You still have that with other people. Now, you had people going in on this that were determined to love it. They
Correct.
couldn't accept the fact that it may not be good. Because how stupid am I going to feel? I haven't transformed it yet. I have him here next to me. He's off kilter on a dirty box. But how stupid am I going to feel? I played the long game. The best Seeker I have is MP11.
I don't think MP11 is awful.
If he loves it, he'll be good.
I agree. And I think a lot of people are trying to turn that conversation with me that I'm in it to save Make Toys. But I don't care.
What? They're accusing you of confirmation bias. That's what they're doing. And the irony is you're accusing them of confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, you had said something too, though, about like you're like, oh, people don't want to feel stupid. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but like they spend a lot of money. They don't want to feel stupid for their purchase. But don't you think, like, haven't we already had these conversations in Transformers? It's like, I feel, how is that still a thing? I feel like people should know, like, especially just in this fandom dealing with MP Transformers. I don't know, how are people still upset about that?
I feel much better and relieved when I get a figure and it's a disappointment. I feel disappointed and I feel better to admit it openly. Like, this really isn't good. I feel stupid. Like, even if I wanted it to be good.
Dude, I'm buying a set of Predacons that I'm absolutely horrified that are going to turn out horrible because everything in my gut is telling me this isn't going to work. And here's another thing is like, but like, you're not this hard on third party. And it's like, well, wait a minute. The last time a third party figure couldn't stand up, I tore it apart. This one, I didn't tear this figure apart. Not like I tore Dicka apart. It's only okay for me to act the way that people want me to act when it comes to how they interpret the figure themselves. So if they haven't gone in on Dicka, and I say that Dicka's trash, and I save them $150, I'm a hero. If they have gone in on the official, because it's the official, what could go wrong? And then I'm like, all of these things, in a chain reaction of all the many things that the official's been doing wrong for years. And then people are like, well, he's now. Well, like, I can't be a monster for the same act that I'm a hero for.
It's like one of those things. It's, you could talk about anybody, but once you start talking about my mom, man, that's it. I'm mad at you.
I think this actually shows us what really goes to the heart of what constitutes a quality figure. I think aesthetic is trumped by build. Whether or not something is aesthetically pleasing is really subjective, but whether something is built well is not. So let's say that figure, the materials were even better and it was built even better and had correct hardware and the tolerances were perfect.
My only gripe would be subjective, and I would say if you like the way it looks, this is 100% recommend.
Right, like you go by aesthetic, but still price as well. That is subjective, but it's more gray area subjective because money is money. Like I'm not for this super tuned kind of big head, big feet aesthetic. But if you are, listen, this thing's built beautifully, and it has a waist swivel. It's got a ab crunch. Doesn't have a waist swivel,
no waist
and it's got inconsistent joints. It has joints like a newbie third party company.
Correct.
Which is unacceptable. We would enjoy trashing that figure, but we would only have spent $100 on it.
Correct.
And we would have felt hosed by that and laughed about it.
Correct.
It's amazing to me that it doesn't have a waist swivel after everyone's biggest gripe. Really, the only gripe with the MP11 was that it didn't have a waist swivel.
It's
like,
unforgivable.
we're going to redo it.
And they're banking
waist
so much on articulation these days.
Yeah.
Like, you don't give him a waist swivel? Like, are you dumb? Are you dumb or are you stupid?
I even saw, talk about confirmation bias, I saw comments defending it, saying, well,
he didn't turn his waist in the cartoon.
Yes.
I saw it. Outrageous.
Like, really? Like, come on.
I just like that people are trying to convince you to like that your opinion is wrong. It's like, why can't people just be like, all right, I get it. He didn't like it. This is his opinion is he didn't like it.
People are angry. Like somebody I saw a comment. I saw a screen cap of a comment saying, Bobby doesn't understand that this is the best Starscream that's been offered to date. You know what I mean? Something to that effect. That doesn't matter when it's not good.
Correct. It doesn't, like, you can have something that's the best thing to date and it also be bad.
Yeah,
at one point,
true.
the Gears was the best masterpiece Gears offered to date.
Right.
And it was simultaneously a piece of shit. I have spent this much money on a Hot Toys or more, and the people that know or watch or have watched my Hot Toys review will know that I have been super excited for some of them out of the box, and then in the final thoughts, I'm like, it's awful. It's awful. That's the thing, is that, like, I think people need to leave me out of it and deal with their own because there's plenty of times, documented times, where something has been super expensive that I've been super excited for, and at the end of the review, I'm super disappointed. Instead of just listening to what I had to say and why I had to say and try to understand why I feel the way I feel, people would rather find some sort of scapegoat or excuse to invalidate how I feel. Sometimes I just feel the way I feel, and it has nothing to do with any sort of scapegoat bull reason that other people come up with to explain why I feel the way I feel.
You want to hear something funny? In all the comments I read, I saw tons of people cheering for your review. And most of them, I would argue 90 to 95% of them, were cheering your review because it confirmed their decision not to buy it.
So I agree with that too. I agree.
Isn't that interesting, though?
Yeah, it's because it goes both ways.
It does.
It 100%
Yeah,
goes both
true.
ways. I'm more interested in the other people that have bought it and been like, man, I wanted it to be something it's not. I was never going to buy this. But when I got one, as a very generous gift, I was like, well, hell, at this point, if this is better, I'm going all in on these. And then,
I mean, and that's even more so too. It's like, it's not like you paid for it, so you didn't have like a bias there because you purchased it. And you wanted it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was all a win
You had
for me.
nothing to-
It was
Yeah,
all a
you had
win.
nothing to lose.
It would have been the easiest
Those
thing in the
thumbs are
world.
wild as
Dude, and you think it's easy for somebody to give you a $250 gift and then you to have to say publicly that the gift is no good? You think that's easy? It's not.
only when you're a jerk.
Bobby jerk face.
I really do feel like I was as fair as I possibly could. Now, I also say this. It seems as though I have a lemon, which is not outside the realm of possibility for me. It's in many ways my luck. A lot of things went super good for me, so some things go super bad for me. Give and take.
Well, and I will say, like, I feel like when I had to do my little, like, choose between the two. But when I picked it up and, like, moved the knees, I was like, ooh, it's ratcheted because the other one is not. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have any problems standing it at that point in time. Mm-hmm. However, that's kind of why I wanted to go get it. Because I'm like, you know, I do feel like sometimes you do like the drama. And I'm not saying that's with your reviews. I'm just saying in life. So maybe like you feed that a little bit, but no, I mean he definitely he's having a tough time. He's having a tough time.
I will say something. If you have a figure in your collection that does not stand well, that tends to fall over, you may not have one in this specific splice of the fourth dimension, but in the grand scheme of things, you have a broken toy. because it will fall and break itself.
Here, and let me say
It doesn't
something.
do what it's supposed to.
That, and let me say something else. Like, you know, when I give a toy a pass for not being able to stand, if the toy comes with a stand. Now,
the stand.
the Takara
That's
one
the best part of
comes with a stand, but you can't use it properly because the space on his back where the stand pegs in has to either make him do like a super wide, like he's getting ready to jump on a horse, or a little bunny hop where his feet are slightly off the ground so that it will fit. You're hard pressed to find an elite action figure with a stand that doesn't extend in any way to allow that figure to both stand and jump. Like Flames toys do it, Gundam do it. For some reason, I think that while people are saying that I'm too critical of Takara, I am telling you you're too forgiving.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was literally going to say, like, is this just another thing where it's like because it's the official, people just feel the need to defend it more? I always felt like that was like a thing, you know.
Or the cost of entry was high, you know, and it sucks. When people spend a lot of money, they hate saying it's not good, myself included. Dude, these statues that I'm getting into, like some of them are $1,000, and I'm like, this isn't good.
Right.
It looks good, but it's not good because trying to put it together, you break 4 pieces on it. Maybe how I view money and that it just kind of comes and goes and, you know, sucks for now, but we'll sort it out later. Like, maybe that's what gives me the edge, but I really don't feel like I falter in that way because I buy things that are over $1,000 and I'll say it's not good.
Look, I think you would take a lot of heat off yourself if you were a little more self-observant and you didn't make it so obvious how much you didn't like something at first when you started your review and save it for the end.
So you say that.
Well, that's interesting.
You say that, but the truth is that I liked it at first.
No way!
Not true. It is pretty, man.
No, you didn't like it from the beginning. It was obvious. And
That's
it wasn't
not
the only
true.
figure.
That's not true.
You do
I
tend
didn't
to
I
do
didn't
that.
decide that I wasn't going to buy this until I got to robot mode. So
Dude,
I can
you
tell you that I thought the jet mode looked really good, but guess what? Guess what it doesn't look better than? Make toys. That Make Toys jet kills this jet.
I think what's interesting, and I feel like I should document. So today is July 8th. This video came out 7th.
7th.
And you recorded the verses also on the 7th. And which won the verses?
Takara.
I think that should be stated that has all been like determined, you know, at this point. You know what I mean? It was determined yesterday before this video posted, so people aren't like, oh, well, yeah, we had the verses. Now after you heard everybody's feedback that their Takara wins. But I just think that is a relevant point, and I think the dates as to when that's determined are also relevant.
And it's, in spite of what Robert's saying, like, he's wrong. I was under the impression that I was going to fall in love with this figure. That's me, all cards on the table. If I had to guess, before I transformed it, how I was going to feel about it, I would have doubled down on I was going to love it. I love all the sculpted details on the jet, though. It kind of reminds me of old school Takara a bit in that regard. The paint is clean. That gray is sharp.
I feel like Bobby was so upfront with it because he felt he had to be. Because of the fact that it was a gift. He owed it out of respect to the giftor to be honest about his feelings. I feel like that was a factor.
But I wasn't even flagrant with it, Robert. Like, if this was any other company offering something at $250 and it was built to that level, and I said the exact same things that I said about this, people would have, they would have put my whole face on a flag.
I'll wait for the KO.
Well, this actually might be one of those situations where the knockoff is built better.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. But objectively, I think that the shoulder joint is the most impressive thing about this figure. And I don't feel like a whole lot of people are talking about it. Like we I don't know if we've seen anybody do this before with the shoulder joint, and nobody's talking about it. But the thing won't stand up, and nobody wants to talk about that. If there was something that pushed the kneecap towards the thigh that didn't allow for that gap where the thigh wouldn't move forward and then shift the weight forward and then topple down on these weak ankles, then it would be fine.
So is the whole flaw because they tried to throw in the Gerwalk mode so we could chicken leg with the Gerwalk, the Robotech mode?
Yeah. You know what? You're probably right. That's a
Wow.
good point. And yeah, if it didn't have that for that one gimmick, that makes me even angrier.
Well, I'll tell you what. Aesthetically, I love the Starscream, and I can see.
Do you though, dude? Wait till you see it. Like, wait till you see it, man.
Aesthetically, I love the way jet mode looks, but I do not like, very much bothers me is those weird armatures on the sides. You know, for the
dumb and unnecessary
with waffles in them
and unnecessary. The weapons peg into the jet.
Yeah.
Fine, and nobody talks
That's
about that
terrible.
either. It's like
No.
It's like they people want to ignore the issues with this thing and other things that this company is doing, and then they'll be the first to say, "But what, you just forgive fans' toys, dude." I've made 3 or 4 videos specifically about criticizing what Fans Toys is doing. You can't say I've done that with Takara. Nobody says, hey, Bobby, when you brought up that RC and you started to review it and you realized that transforming it was going to sacrifice the structural integrity and you spent the next 20 minutes of the review instead of reviewing it to just on Fans Toys in that product. I didn't do that with Takara. Nobody said that I was biased then. You want to know who's inconsistent? It's y'all. I don't know how else to feel about it. I don't think you can name a company that I haven't on. And I don't think you can name a company that I haven't praised.
Starscream's thumb.
Marilyn Manson.
Lubriderm Jameson.
Disaster.
Bunions.
8 weeks.
Dude, 8 weeks is still good.